I apologize about
No problem.
the Zoom problem things, and I'm glad we can still do this interview here.
Yeah, yeah, man. Same. I like the name of your blog, and because we look alike, it's obviously going to be like a weird kind of feedback loop that we'll be in now for the whole interview, where we repeat each other's words and we won't realize it, and there'll be like a sci-fi movie.
A pure Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah, there's a really cool show on Apple TV actually that my wife and I are watching at the moment. And I can't for the life of me remember it. Christ, something girls, Shining Girls, and it's about this time traveling murderer. You should watch it. It's really good.
I'll have to look into that. That sounds
Mhm.
intriguing just from what you just said.
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
It is. But yeah, here we are, all sorted now.
oh, awesome. Well, even in more coincidences that's going on with this, I thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview to be able to talk about this
Sure.
new album, which is going to be coming out on my birthday
Oh wow,
on
cool. That's
the 19th of August through Napalm
mhm.
Records.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
But did
definitely
it
been a
for you
treat to be
actually?
able to check this album out and just seeing everything that you've done since the first album and just like seeing the progression of the band. It's just so cool to see where you guys are at now here in 2022.
Oh yeah, thank you. We've it's been effortless in a way, but at the same time, it's also been kind of a lot of effort, if you know what I mean. Sort of like we've enjoyed the whole thing so far, and we've we've released quite a lot of music, but it hasn't seemed like because we've done it over such a long period of time, it doesn't seem like it. It's only when you kind of look back in hindsight you realize just how much music we've put out. So it's nice to be here.
Oh, absolutely. And with that in mind too, it's just like when I think about every album that I've heard, which is every album that you've put out so far, just like seeing the progression of the band as well too, just like whether you're changing up the tempos, whether you're changing up the lyrical concepts. I mean, there's so many different things that have happened in the past decade. I mean, it's just when I look at this album and just like seeing how far you've come with the band. It's just incredible to see like how strong these songs are. They feel the tightest they've ever been. The song structures, whether you're doing a shorter 3 minute song or you're doing a huge epic 14-minute song, it all feels so cohesive and fun to listen to.
Oh, thanks, Josh. I appreciate that. It's certainly fun to make this music. I must say, it's that's what's kept us going this long. I think we really do enjoy it. We've got some continuity as well with Chris being in the band, and he's our producer. I think once we got to this point in releasing an album, writing and recording it in lockdown. We recorded at the end of lockdown towards the end of last year, but the writing of it took place, from December 2019 onwards, and it just feel like a bit of an achievement getting to this point and releasing it at last because it has been quite a long slog, and I think because the songs have taken shape over such a length of time, which is longer than we would normally take. I think they do sound more cohesive. You're right; they sound a bit more. So they got more depth to them. So I'm really happy with how they sat on the album. I love playing it live. I love listening to it myself in my own time. So I think we've done a good job on this album. I think people who already like us are going to love it, and people who don't know us already are going to be intrigued. So I guess you can't really ask for much more than that.
Oh, it's so true. And yeah, I mean, with every listen that I give to this album, there's more that I'm able to dissect on my own and just able to appreciate so much more. And I think that really comes from how tight everything has come between the three of you. And, with this lineup and just being able to build that song structure, being able to just have that chemistry together and the songwriting and the production as well as you mentioned, just like when everything's hitting on all cylinders, the band's only going to get better and better.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think it's important as well when you've released a few albums, you really got to keep things interesting for you and also people who buy your music. I think we definitely done that with this album. We've didn't go crazy on trying to mix things up. I think we just kind of did it naturally, which is kind of what we do now on each release. You know, we think of things that we wanted to do better or differently, and we make sure we do them. You know, it helps to have a producer in the band because he's always got that sort of stuff in mind, even when maybe me and Johnny haven't. So and vice versa. So it's the album. I think it's our best album yet. It's got elements of all of the cool stuff that I liked off Horse of Battlehammer, Monos, Blood Eagle. Um, it's got like just like some of the slow, drawn out, repetitive riffing that maybe we'd missed out on Existential Void Guardian, and it's just got like a brutal simplicity to it in the parts of the songs that we wanted to sound brutally simple. And I think we've really achieved all our aims. I think it sounds great. I'm really happy with it, as you could tell.
Oh, definitely. And I love the fact that you mentioned that you listen to the album and you're able to enjoy the album as well, because I know
Mhm.
there's so many musicians out there that once they recorded the album, they never want to hear those songs again unless they're playing it in a live setting. But the fact that you
Right.
still enjoy these songs makes me appreciate it so much more because you actually enjoy the music that you're creating.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I really do love how the albums come together, and like I say, it's got like all the cool bits that kept me going back to the other albums. And I think we've distilled some of that sort of feel for this album, and it's got some of the heaviest riffs we've ever written, some of the heaviest passages that we've ever written, and I think it just makes for a really cool experience. It's got some up tempo bits. It's got like some super slow, heavy slots, long slogs. Where it's like just like super repetitive and heavy, loads of feedback, and they're all the things that I really like about our sound. I'm delighted that we were able to squeeze them all in on one record.
Yeah, and from the fan perspective, for myself, I love that. I mean, the fact that you can take something that has a bit more up tempo, like Levitation Hoax, and then you look at Grief Sequence, which does have some of the most brutal riffs that I've heard from the band, and the fact that it feels like when you get to those notes and you get from one song into the end of the album, it feels like it was so natural. I mean, the track listing feels like it's in the right order. It just feels like a natural progression, and just being able to show all of that off, whether you're changing the tempos up, whether you get more simplistic or changing things up and being able to show off different sides, it makes it for a great album experience, which I'm so happy to see that still continuing on.
Yeah, well, thanks. I'm glad you appreciate that, and I appreciate what you're saying. It's the order of the songs is something that we do pay particular attention to because we want the album to feel a certain way and it needs to flow a certain way. And of course, Grief Sequence could not be anywhere else on that album aside from at the end. So that one was an easy one, but the others sort of were kind of interchangeable. But I think we got the positioning right. Um, I think we put them all in just the right order. So I think like a cleaved head no longer plots is like a great intro to an album because it really does set the scene for this album. Um, it's maybe not the catchiest song on the album, like it doesn't have the same hook that may be the instant hook that maybe uh, Throne of Fire or Hawker's Weapon has, but it draws you in. And now that we've released several albums, I think it's kind of the song that most people wouldn't expect us to put first, and I think that will grab people's attention even more because there are other songs on there that are a bit more instantly gratifying, and I think the fact that we've not put those on first will draw the listener in and make them listen to the album, in more depth. Because if that is kind of a surprise for them, then I think they'll expect other surprises along the way, and it's sort of like it's all in the strategy of ordering the songs, and we definitely had that in mind.
Yeah, and I'm so happy to see that too. And, even before I got the chance to be able to check out the whole album, I was so intrigued by everything that was going on with the singles that were released before I got the full on stream and just like being able to see where you are right now. And, just like after everything that's happened, like live shows being taken away from us and everything that's happened with the pandemic and the world changing and just like there's so many bands that came out of that feeling different, but with the band here, it's just like I love the fact that there is such a great variation, but it maintains that core sound of what I love about the band. So, just the fact, just like spreading the wings a bit more and just being able to expect the unexpected in a way with the band.
Yeah. I think we probably changed a little bit over lockdown. Maybe all of us started listening to expanded our sort of musical taste a little bit. Although it's definitely very much a Conan album, you can see other influences in there. There's maybe a bit more of a industrial feel to some of the riffs that are on there, even though the overall production isn't industrial at all. Um, and I'm a big fan of Nail Bomb Ministry, and I think I've been listening to a lot of those songs over the last few years, and some of them started to make the way into the Ungraven recordings that I did, but uh, I didn't want to give too many riffs away to Ungraven, so I kept them for Conan. I think it's definitely worked because it's changed things slightly with the newer songs. They got a slightly different vibe to them than than on the other albums. I think it makes it more brutal, more heavy, which is exactly what we are going for, actually.
Exactly. And that subtlety is so great because you're not when you're not overdoing one particular thing, when you hear that moment come up in a song or on the album, it does hit so much harder. So when you do hear those brutal riffs on the album, they hit you so much harder rather than if they were just throughout the entire album.
Yeah, like Levitation Host is like a bit of a sort of like a hardcore breakdown in the middle or whatever you want to call it. I don't know, but it's little things like that. It's something that we've kind of always made sure we put in our songs. Like, at the end of Battle in the Swamp, for example, there's like, the faster part where that gets kind of speeds up and that people really like listen to that live. So we just want to try and be like entertaining because I think a lot of, I mean, the genre that we occupy or what people say we occupy, doom metal or whatever it is there are a lot of bands who kind of sound similar to one another, and we're always really determined not to do that. We're not like a Sabbath worship style band or whatever. We don't sound, just like High and Fire like some other bands might do, or we don't sound just like Yob or all these leading bands. We've always been pretty determined to sort of look at doom metal, but from a different viewpoint. We want to be seen as, we don't wear Black Sabbath shirts on stage. We'll wear like Godflesh or Nail Bomb t-shirts, and that's where we're coming from in terms of this, the heavy music world. And it feels good to be able to represent those kind of bands at the shows. We really love that style of music.
Oh, for sure. And it's just like and speaking of those live shows, it's just like I imagine so much like the more that I listen to this album, like how great these songs are going to sound in that live setting, because if you're getting these like crushing tones and this great atmosphere throughout the entire album, playing these songs live is just going to be amazing.
Yeah. We play Levitation Hoax, and also Righteous Alliance live already, and both of those songs go down really well. People really love them. So we're excited now to get, one or two of the other songs on our live set as well. Obviously, we don't want to play the whole album live every show because we need to play some of the more well-known songs as well. But we definitely want to introduce these newer songs to the set and, freshen things up a little bit. But yeah, the songs all work live. I'm not sure we'd ever play Grief Sequence live just because it's such a long song and it's like it's a kind of a flat landscape, if you like. I'm not sure that would work well in a live setting too much. But the other songs, all the other songs, definitely would work. So we're going to be putting them into our set list as soon as we can.
Oh, that's so great to hear. And as much as I love everything that's going on audibly with this album, I love visually what's going on as well too. And the album artwork is such a great representation of the album. I mean that's just brutal in and of itself. Like when you really look at the artwork, like you can just see the devastation in the artwork, and I love it so much. Like the colors, everything that's going on with it, it perfectly fits the album.
Yeah, I like how bleak the album cover is. The guy is clearly dying, and it kind of fits in well with the lyrics actually, which are all about death, resurrection, revenge, anger, frustration, hope, warfare, and it's captured perfectly on the front cover. And of course, you've got the inner sleeve, which is a bit more of a sanctuary, and that's where I guess people go to die. And yeah, Tony did a great job, and he's been our artist since day one. He's not our artist, but he's done all of our artwork since day one, and he definitely did a great job on this one as well. We're really happy with it.
So with that in mind, like, did you have to give him any notes when he was working on the artwork, or did he come up with that on his own, or how did that come together?
Yeah, like normal, we'd send him demos and lyrics, and the more complete the songs became, the easier it was for him to visualize and to create the artwork. And it's been like that on every other album. He's at first when we don't have any demos to show him, when we just got sort of like an idea, he'll do some sketches, and then over time, he sort of creates the artwork as we're creating the music. Like we do it in tandem with one another. It's really awesome.
Oh, very cool. So
Mm.
going back into the studio aspect, I mean, what was it like to be in the studio and start recording for this album?
It was great when we actually recorded at Fowl Studios, which is the studio where we recorded Horseback Battle Hammer, Monos, the split with Slamatics. So to be back working there again felt amazing. I felt like a little bit odd because we'd only just kind of come out of the COVID lockdowns in November time, I think it was, when we did drums and guitar. So a little bit of trepidation there, but once we were set up and we were just jamming, and Chris was recording what we were doing as we went along, and sort of structured some of the parts of the songs whilst we were in the studio on the first day. So yeah, overall it felt great. Fowl Studio is a studio that we love to play at, record at. So we're excited to get back there and record again at some point in the future.
Oh, awesome. So with that in mind, I mean, obviously with the new album and being able to go to a studio that you love to be able to record at, did you change anything up as far as like any of your gear or any of your equipment or anything like that when it came to recording this time around?
Yeah, a little bit. On the Accidental Void Guardian, I actually used a lot of solid state amplifiers, like Sun Beta clone and sort of modern power amplifier and stuff. But on this album, I used sort of more closely to what I would use live, a Mesa Boogie 295 power amp with a custom made valve preamp, rack mounted amplifier stuff, and we used I think a late 70s Marshall JMP, and we used the Sun Model T that I've used on every album so far. So, and of course, we used the Fuzz Throne again on the last album. We used a mixture of a HM2 clone and some other unknown fuzz pedal that just we used because I had lots of bass to it. But on this album, we used sort of like more of my live sound. So I think it sounds great.
Yeah, I definitely hear it this time around too, and just like being able to hear the different tones that you're able to get, whether it's just the tuning, the equipment, the fuzz, whatever's going on with it. I mean, it kind of feels like there's a little bit of new life, here with it. And sometimes that just comes from being able to try out different equipment and just dialing in the right tones and being able to just be inspired by that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the vocals are recorded all in one or two takes, so I think that helps add to like a rawness. But Chris definitely had some ideas on this album, in terms of production to make it sort of present it in a different light to what the other album came across as. I think we've done a great job. Chris has done brilliant on the production. James Plotkin mastering it made it sound just insanely heavy. So we got a great team in that on that side of it. So really happy.
And thinking about that as well too. I mean, what was it like when you were able to hear like the final versions of the songs back? Like, what was that like initial hit for you when you started hearing the album for the very first time in its final form?
Well, when we first get the first masters off James and he's not quite there, that's when it really comes to life. Because the studio mixes naturally will sound a bit flat. But when it goes to James and he masters it, and he'll send the first couple of ideas, it's like this is how I think it should sound. It's at that point when you really start to see it come to life. And when he did that on these tracks, it just blew us away. We just as soon as he sent it over, we were like, wow, this sounds awesome. So yeah, we trust James and obviously Chris being in the band as well. They've clearly got our best interests at heart, so we just let them get on with it. And when they first presented the tracks to us when they were mastered, it blew us away.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. And yeah, I'm glad that you pointed that out because I think that's something that just needs to be said more about how important the mixing and the mastering is really when it comes to an album because it can completely change the entire sound of an album. It can make something that sounds okay and just make it sound the best it possibly can be. It can
Yeah,
also have the
it's true.
opposite effect as well too when if things go awry, but when you have everything going in the right direction and you have the right people behind it, I can't imagine anyone else working on this album and making it sound just as crushing as what the final product came out to be.
Yeah, yeah. But those two working together on this album is the dream team because everything they write, everything they record sounds good. And of course, James Plotkin was incarnate amongst others. So he knows how to record and master heavy stuff. That's why we chose him really because he's a very well regarded mastering engineer, and he never lets us down.
Oh, it's so great to hear that. So no, obviously with the album coming out in a couple weeks now and on my birthday, I mean that's going to be a great thing for me to be able to pick up on my birthday is be able to get this in the full form and be able to check it out, check out the artwork fully, being able to really appreciate it that way. When it does come out, what's going to be coming up next for the band?
Well, we got some shows coming up. We're playing a handful of festivals this year. We got plenty of offers for next year as well. We are almost there with announcing a tour in Canada end of October, and of course we're excited to get back to the USA. We hope to do that. We hope to do that next year, maybe in the spring or summer, depending on what offers we get through. So that's our main focus really is to just get out there and tour the album. Um, but things have been we're just excited to get on as many stages as possible and get on the road because that's what we really do enjoy.
Oh yeah, I can only imagine. And again, with every album cycle, you're able to throw in new songs and be able to change the set list up like we talked about, and just being able to I mean, obviously playing songs that people want to hear, that the
Yeah,
classic Conan songs, but you also want to be able to show off that new album and show it off in the best representation. And with you three, I mean, obviously you do such a great amazing job live of being able to give these songs that were recorded such a full-blown experience in that live setting and just being able to hit everything on all cylinders like that. So when you do come back to the States, I can't wait to be able to hear these songs in that live setting because I just know it's going to be so great.
yeah, man. Thanks. We're excited to get over. We really do love playing live, and we just doing festivals is great, but there's nothing better than getting in the van and going on tour because that's been in my blood now for 10 years, 11 years. We've done that a lot. Not been able to do it really over the last couple of years, so we're just excited to we're just excited to get some tours scheduled, and we're almost there with it. We're excited to come over to Canada soon, and then we'll then get our US visa booked and plan some stuff for next year. So it's going to be awesome.
Oh, definitely. And all of that's got me so excited. I mean, I'm so happy to hear how happy you are with the way the album has turned out. So I know my feelings are a lot of the same feelings that you have towards the album, which is such a great listening experience. And all of the shows that you've currently been able to do, being able to show off a couple new songs and everything that's going to be coming up in the future when you're able to mix things up a bit more and be able to tour across the globe again, which, it's just like it's such an important thing. And with these songs, it really calls for that live setting. And I just love seeing where you guys are at right now because it feels like everything's going in the right direction.
No, thanks. I appreciate that. So far, so good. Hopefully, we don't have any more health scares, and we don't need to worry about pandemic or anything like that. And we
Oh,
can start to sort of catch up on what we missed out on over the last couple of years.
absolutely. And obviously there's been so much bad that's come with that, but I'm glad to see that, with things dying down. I mean, not perfect, not the way it used to be, but just with the things with the pandemic and everything like dying down enough to where we can enjoy live music again, that you're able
Yeah,
to get on stage, play the classic songs, play the newer songs, play everything and going around the world and being able to play again because with it being taken away from us, obviously so many variables of that being bad, but just that feeling of being able to either go to a show again or getting up on stage again is such a great feeling. And yeah, just like I mentioned, when you come back here with the States and I'm able to see you guys live again, I'm gonna know it's gonna be a great time. And I know anyone that's gonna be able to check you out with any of the festival shows or touring that'll be announced, that they're gonna have just as much of a great time.
yeah. Thanks, Josh. Hopefully, we're excited to get back out there for sure.
Oh,